when it when it comes out of its mother's womb. And so Moshe, listen, racial bigotry, let me read you this, needs to be publicly repented of. It falls in the category, tehillah, of deliverance.
And the one you said,
there's no difference between the sexually immoral and the bigoted. They both need to be repented of publicly. They both need darkness to survive, so they both have to come to the light and be repented of publicly. It's part of deliverance. Simple prayers don't clean the heart of 30 years of bigotry.
yeah.
Look at verse 13. Moshe cried to Yahweh, saying, heal her now, O El. I beg you. He's begging Yahweh to heal. Do you find this interesting? He is asking for a healing from Yahweh himself. No political programs, no 12-step programs, no social programs, no urban development zones, no tax-free urban development zones, no reconditioning or psychology. He is asking for a change of heart and a change of mind, not for himself, but for his sister and for his brother.
Amen.
But you missed it. You missed it. Who's doing the praying here? Who's doing the intercession? I thought it was the high priest that's supposed to intercede. The high priest has just lost his authority because of bigotry. Thank you, Daniel. Are you getting this? Aaron has to come to Moshe and say, unless Yahweh sends a direct, immediate, full-blown manifestation of sovereignty, of healing virtue, I can never be restored to the position of intermediary, and until I am made meek by giving up the inbred bigotry against your beautiful wife, who's getting to look nicer and nicer to me, because I want my job back.
Amen. Why weren't you afraid?
So, Moshe is functioning in the position of Kohen Hagadol, and Aaron, who should be the Kohen Hagadol, is subservient. Why? Because when you're not faithful to Yahweh in all his bayit, you can lose your authority. Correct. So that those who need healing from bigotry and racism don't just need prayer, don't just need a new home, don't just need a new congregation, don't just need a new head covering. They need deliverance. It goes out like sexual immorality. Very hard. It is inbred, deep leaven. It needs a full-blown healing wind and virtuous manifestation of Yahweh's koach and public confession and deliverance. It's all part of deliverance, no less than that other stuff. Because you think you can hide it in your heart. And Yahweh says, the longer you walk like this, the more you're going to be puffed up, the more you're going to think that Yahweh only can speak to anybody equally. Yeah, he can. But what blocks Yahweh from speaking directly in the photo of himself, which is also known as his son, is bigotry. Bigotry will block, listen, the plumb line in your relationship between you and Yahweh.
Wow.
It'll disqualify you from ministering to returning Israel. It will give you a diminished role of authority, if not lose your entire authority. Well, I don't know why I don't have my ministry. Maybe Yahweh has, maybe there's something in your life that needs to be delivered when it comes to racial bigotry.
Yes.
Because guess what? Yahweh's calling meetings now. You and me at the door, in the cloud, you're not going to see anything. You're going to hear my judgment and change your heart, or Moshe will be the new high priest.
Yeah, you probably feel his fire burning too.
And Yahweh said to Moshe, now watch the answer. Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Moshe said, heal her now. I beg you. So Moshe is acting as Kohen HaGadol. Yahweh said to Moshe, if her Abba, now watch this answer. If her Abba had but spit in her face, should she not be put from the camp 7 days? After that, let her be received again. Let me read this to you. This is the principle, Reina. This is the principle of Kal Va Chomer. Okay, what does that mean? Take notes. Bigotry is an offense that must be removed from the camp, listen, by direct healing from Yahweh, and even possibly by community action and discipline, because if you don't see the community as equal and in Yahweh's eyes, then you need not be part of that community. And then Yahweh will remove you from that community. If you see one race or one nationality above another race or above another nationality, not only is deliverance and healing from Yahweh called for and loss of authority and all the other things we mentioned, there must be a time away from the community so you realize you're not as good as the people that are in the community who are of a different skin color than you. They are better than you because they are not being disciplined. You're being disciplined. You're turning white, and you used to think white was a condition of being special. Now you know it's a curse because you're being put out of the camp and away from all those people you think you're better than. So part of the reason of putting people outside of the camp is to bring them to reality of, oh, crud, I am sowing, living, and walking in death. It's not to punish people, to control people, to manipulate people. It's that what you're doing is darn serious.
Amen.
Speaking against the leaders of Israel is not a national pastime. This is dangerous stuff.
Amen.
Even Paul, when he was being whipped and smitten by the Kohen HaGadol, he said, you whited wall. He said, you sit here to judge me by Torah, and you hit me without witnesses in a fair trial in contradiction to Torah. And Rav Shaul said, and then they said, is that the way you talk back to the high priest? And Rav Shaul said, I'm sorry, repent, forgive me. I didn't know it was the high priest. I wouldn't have said that if I knew it was the high priest. And he was being hidden.
Yes.
Someone talks about leadership, you stop them. You don't let it go on.
Amen.
You are the one that is a problem. I don't want to hear anything about my rabbi. He's not perfect. He's got a lot of problems, but I will not let you talk about him.
Amen.
I'll only talk about my Rebbitzin that way. No, don't talk about my Rebbitzin that way.
Oh, look for a meeting.
Because I'm not going to listen. I will not listen. So let's change the subject. Right now, let's change the subject.
Amen.
If you let it go on, that's the problem. So it's the same with this.
Yeah.
It's the same with this. Racial bigotry is so odious to Yahweh that you need to come to grips with your own mortality, death, and lack of goodness and get outside the camp. Because you're not, right now, with your heart and your mindset, you're not good enough to be with the white Israelites, the black Israelites, the yellow Israelites, or the pink Israelites.
Outside the camp.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Yahweh said to Moshe, now look, I want to forgive because I'm gracious, merciful, slow to anger. But if her Abba had spit in her face, shouldn't she be ashamed and outside the camp 7 days? And after that come back? What does Yahweh say? If a child was an embarrassment to the father, and there's different hukim on this, I don't have time to look it up. If the child is an embarrassment to the father, or daughter is an embarrassment to the father, by doing certain actions, we don't have to go into this now, the father would do this, listen, he would take his shoe, listen, slap her, and spit in her face as a sign of what? Displeasure.
Yeah.
Huh?
Not Peter.
So here's Kal V'chomer, the greater versus the lesser. If insulting a girl's earthly father brings shame upon her so that publicly he, he spits in her face and she gets put outside the camp, how much more when you spit in my face by mistreating my creation? Kal v'chomer. If it's true about human fathers, kal, the light, chomer. How much greater is your spitting in my face when you don't like members and people who don't look like you and who are not of the same nationality and race as you. So you're spitting in my face. And if your earthly father put you outside the camp, what do you think I'm going to do to you? So Moshe, you can pray for healing, that's fine. But I want you to know that I'm a fair, righteous, and forgiving Elohim. I use equal weights and measures. If a woman is put outside the camp for dishonoring her earthly father, what do you think this racial prejudice and bigotry is doing to me? It's eating out my kishkis, it's destroying me, and I'm going to put you outside the camp. Her earthly father, it will spit in her face. How much more your heavenly father? You spit in my face, I will spit in your face in front of the whole community. So stop praying, sentence 7 days. He met with those two. He said, come here, you two that have you bigots, you two bigots in Israel, you two bigots, come here. Here's the sentence, adios. Aaron freaks out, he lost his priesthood, he can't pray, he's too mummified. Moshe starts praying, Yahweh goes, chill out, Mo. Are you accusing me of being unfair? If a woman, a daughter of Israel dishonors their father, the father what? Spits in the face and puts her outside of the camp. I have been dishonored this day. Miriam, you can pray until the pigs fly. She's going out of the camp. Yeah, that's what I don't like about that Miami Beach place. Putting people outside the camp. Sweetheart, listen, let me, if we catch you in any kind of racial bigotry and hatred, and you talk to other people in the congregation and what's in your heart comes out, spills out, I'll put you outside the camp. Trust me, I will put you outside. It's not just for sexual immorality. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Watch this. Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days. After that, let her be received. And then, P.S., Big Mo, you come back and pray. You can start praying in 7 days. But for 7 days, you can pray until the cows fly. What's done is done. Meaning, you've sown death, death is what you reap. I'll forgive you, but the penalty remains. I forgive you. I forgive Aharon and Moshe and Miriam, but the fruits of unrighteousness remain.
The whole camp didn't go nowhere.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. The Torah Parsha says, again, now this is a strange message, a place of caves. The title of this message, Avraham, a place of caves. Caves? Verse 15. And Miriam was shut out from the camps. In other words, the Kohen HaGadol couldn't pray. Why? He was being disciplined. Moshe Rabbeinu, who Yahweh speaks through his picture, meaning his son, also prayed to no avail. That's how wicked bigotry and racial variance is. And Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days. And notice, the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. Let's read that again because you missed it. Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days. Did the prayer work?
No.
Sometimes prayer works and Yahweh says no. And we go, that can't be. He is love. Yahweh loves us. You would never say no. Really? Really? This is a big no here without the no. Please, I want my job back. Please bring her in. This doesn't look good on the ministry. We are the Israel's leading family. We're on the front page of Vogue, Cosmopolitan, and USA Today. Moshe, Miriam, and Aharon. We are Israel's first family. This does not look good in our ministry resume. The high priest not working. The sister of the rabbi outside the camp making sandcastles. And Moshe's prayer not working. This is a bad ministry resume. Yahweh said, not interested. If a human father is disgraced, she's put outside the camp, I'm not a human father. I'm the father of all spirits and just men made right. Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days. The judgment stood. And the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. What's the point? Listen. Israel, in the restoration of all things, in this day, this hour, this time, will never be free to move forward toward our return from exile, meaning Israel, unless the cloud or the anointing moves, and until the evil is repented of and cleansed and removed out of the camp. Only when it is cleansed and removed and healed from the camp is the whole camp free to move on and end the exile. You missed it. Bigotry is holding us back is holding the two houses back from being restored. We cannot return to the land because the cloud won't move. Because it says here that Yahweh forbids us to complete our journey until those who used to be bigots are now learning to be faithful in all the house. So the camp can't move where? To Canaan land, to Israel, to cross Jordan. We're waiting for all the bigots to get their heart and their attitude aligned by Yahweh, the great heavenly spiritual chiropractor. Amen. How many know we have a nice specialist? My heavenly chiropractor. Amen. You're a bigot? I'll crack those bones and give you an adjustment. A spiritual adjustment. So Yahweh says, when there's bigotry in the camp, and I have to deal with individuals' hearts of racial bigotry, the camp can't, I will hold I will hold back the entire camp from entering into their inheritance.
Yeah, the whole camp ain't going nowhere.
We're going nowhere fast. We'll look more like the church. We'll act more like the church. Don't get me started. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Even the King James Bible is a British Israelite Bible. Okay? It was written by British Israelites who believed the white people were the 10 tribes. Read my lips, Bubba. If you think the white people are the 10 lost tribes, you know less than you thought you knew, which is nothing. And you black folks, you think being black makes you the 10 lost tribes, you know even less than them. What makes you Israel is who is your head. When you got the right head, you're Israel. And you're drinking of the commonwealth of Israel makes you Israel. We share the wealth. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. How many Miriams are we waiting for to get their hearts and their lives right? And we don't even know their names. And Yahweh is slowing down restoration because every religious system in the world bases their sense of well-being on inferiority, making one race better than the other. But in Israel, we need to be separate. What does it mean to be a nation of Kadoshim? What does it mean to be separate? That we're the only nation on earth that doesn't rank by pigmentation.
Amen.
That's what it means to be separate and Kadosh.
That's right.
We rank by fruits, by their fruits. You shall know them. I don't care how loud they preach. I don't care how low they talk when they talk and how low their head is when they walk. Yeshua said you won't know them by their footsteps. You'll know them by their fruit. How do I know something is of Yahweh? Does it produce fruit? Are disciples being made? Are congregations being planted? Are people crossing over out of Babylon? Are people's understanding being illuminated? Are their lifestyles more like Yeshua and less like Jesus? Is there change? Is there positive change? Is there change for light and not for darkness? Amen. By their fruits you shall know them. By their fruits you shall know them. How do I know who's right? He says this, she says this, he accuses her, he accuses him. By their fruits you shall know them. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Let's continue. So, only after healing and cleansing and time of those who are outside the program that can slow down the program, then are we free to move. Watch this. After 7 days, what happened? Ted? After 7 days, what happened? The people left Chatzerot, and pitched in the wilderness of caves. Paran is cave. Now, what's the point? Israel, once Miriam had become meek and did not see her skin pigmentation as a blessing, rather realizing that it was not about skin, it was about the heart, Israel was now free to spy out and enter the land, but not until they had learned their lesson in racial harmony, where Yahweh doesn't see mixed races or mixed families, but Israel echad. Israel was now ready to search out the land on their spy mission because they had already finished the search in In Numbers 13, we see the spies, the 12 spies spying out the land. Yahweh said, you are not ready to spy out the outward land until we finish first with the inward search.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
You ain't going nowhere. You're not moving. The whole camp's not moving because you're not ready. Forget about settling the land. You're not ready to spy out the land. You're not ready to search the land because you're still haven't dealt with the search of prejudice and bigotry and racial prejudice and bigotry in your heart. Amen. Let's finish that search. Let's spy out your heart, and then we can spy out
the land. All right.
Until they were healed of racial bigotry, they remained outside Israel. Let's go back to verse 16. Afterward. Ted, when?
Afterward.
Then, when? Then. Afterward, after they had dealt with the inward search, spying out the hearts for the things Grandma told you and you didn't know was still in your heart, and you actually believed Grandma instead of loving folks that were of different pigmentation than you were.
Come on.
After you're disciplined and you meet Yahweh and you realize that you've got to be faithful to all the bayit in the restoration of all things, then you could leave and move camp, and then you could spy out and return and end the exile. And the first step to ending the exile, Danny, is to spy out the land. Before you settle the land, the first step to exile, ending the exile, is spying out the land. Today, the two houses are not ready to return to Israel because we're still spying out our hearts.
That's right.
And Yahweh's still disciplining people, saying there's prejudice, there's racial misgivings, there's racial misunderstandings, there's racial undertones, overtones, and every other kind of tone.
Yeah.
And you're not moving. Forget about living in Israel. I'm not going to let you go back to Israel until that inward search is done. Look at Numbers 13. Bamidbar 13. And then when the inward search is done, Miriam is corrected and she becomes meek like Moshe. And Aaron becomes meek like Moshe. And they see that being white can actually be a curse and not a blessing. You think they found that out? I think so. Because they trusted in their whiteness. When you trust in your color rather than the living Yahweh, you're prejudiced. Watch this, verse 16. Afterward, after what? After the healing, the cleansing, after the discipline, after the judgment, the people left Chatzerot and pitched in the wilderness of caves. We close with this. Until Israel is healed of all racial bigotry, and we learn to be faithful in all the bayit, to all those Yahweh puts in the bayit, to all those who answer the call, we will remain outside Israel, not even allowed to sojourn and spy the land in a place of caves. Yahweh says, you want to hold on to your bigotry? No problem. You'll live in caves. What's in caves? No milk, no honey,
No light.
no electricity, no bus transportation, no Ryan Steakhouse, no menorahs, no mezuzahs, no gefilte fish. I ain't give up. No matzo ball soup. So in a cave, you've got nothing, and instead of being an Israelite, you are a Batman. You don't like black folks? No problem. You'll be living in a cave like Batman. Until you learn that it's not about liking white folks or black folks, it's about loving all those I put into returning Israel. Forget about, I'm going back, I'm going to the Aliyah, the two houses are coming together, it's all happening. Not until we are fully cleansed, and until we are fully cleansed, we will not be allowed to spy out the land, and we will live in caves. It says here, listen, that when they left, you don't miss this, when they left, they still wound up in another cave. What does that tell us? Miriam was not the only one with this problem. Hello?
Yeah.
This problem was paramount in the camp, and until this was dealt with individually by Yahweh, he always says, you, and you come here. Where? To my office. Whoa. Yahweh. You don't like to come to my office? No problem. If you don't deal with this, you will dwell in a place of caves. And we close with this, second close. There were two men that I know were not prejudiced. Joshua and Caleb. How do I know? Because while all Yisrael dwelt in the place of darkness and what? Lack of promise, a place of 10 caves, there were two out of the 12 spies that were not prejudiced. There were two who had the spirit of Yahweh, who had no iniquity in their hearts, including racial prejudice. And we see here that, and this will blow your mind, verse 8, Bamidbar 13:8. Of the tribe of Ephraim, Joshua or Hoshea, son of Nun. Now if you ask, can we talk? If you ask the average Jew, who was Joshua, he'll say he was one of the Jewish prophets. Really? I have news for you. Not only was Joshua not Jewish, he was an Ephraimite. Is that what it says?
That's right.
There's the two witnesses. Witness number one, Ephraim. And who was the second righteous spy? Caleb. And we see here in verse 6, of the tribe of Yehuda, Bamidbar 13:6, of the tribe of Yehuda, Caleb, the son of Yefunaiah. Okay? So that Caleb